Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. Today our topic is heterostyly. Heterostyly क्या है? The important devices or you can say outbreeding devices. Okay, हमने कुछ outbreeding devices डिस्कस की हुई है. आज हम heterostyly डिस्कस करेंगे. तो heterostyly को अगर हम सिंपली डिफाइन करेंगे, it means possession of two or more than two kinds of flowers in a plant species which differ with respect to the lengths ऑफ देयर स्टेम्स एंड पिस्टल्स. अगर आपके पास एक प्लांट स्पीशीज़ है, कुछ इंडिविजुअल्स में एक तरह का फ्लावर है, कुछ इंडिविजुअल्स में दूसरे तरह का फ्लावर है, एंड दीज फ्लावर्स डिफर विद रेस्पेक्ट टू द लेंथ्स ऑफ देयर पिस्टल्स एंड स्टेम्स. दिस इज अ सिंपल डेफिनेशन ऑफ heterostyly. Heterostyly can also be defined as a genetic polymorphism in which flowers they differ between individual plants of a species with regards to the lengths, with regards to the heights at which the stems and styles are positioned. Okay, so here in this definition you can say that heterostyly is genetically determined. The possession of two or more than two types of flowers, it is determined by genes. याद रखना, heterostyly is genetically determined, in which a plant species possesses either two or more than two types of flowers which differ with respect to the heights at which the stems and styles are positioned. Now it has been found that in heterostylous species, the pollen from one flower type can bring about effective pollination in flowers of different type and not within its own type. यहाँ पे आप देख लीजिए, तो आपके पास दो तरह के इंडिविजुअल्स हैं. One group of individuals shows one type of flower and another group of individuals shows another type of flower. For example, these two flower types are like this. यहाँ पे a long style because of which stigma is at the top, and you have short stems. Here we have another flower type. Here we have a short style and long stems. It has been found that the pollen grains which are produced in this flower, in the anther of this flower, they can cause effective pollination only when they land on the stigma of this flower. Okay, and likewise the pollen grains which are produced in the anther of this flower, they can cause effective pollination if they land on the stigma of this flower. There are also chances that the pollen grains जो यहाँ पे बनते हैं, they can land on its own stigma, or the pollen grains produced here, they can land on its own stigma, but the chances, the probability that they will cause pollination, they will germinate, it is very much less. Okay, so याद रख लीजिएगा, the pollen grains produced in anthers of this plant, this flower, sorry, they can cause effective pollination when they land on this stigma, and the pollen grains produced in anthers of this flower, they can cause effective pollination when they land on this stigma. Okay. Now, heterostyly has been further divided into two types: distyly and tristyly. It is also known as diheterostyly. It is also known as triheterostyly. Now we will discuss what is diheterostyly and triheterostyly. Diheterostyly means if a plant species possesses only two types of flowers, and these flower types, they are named as pinnide and thrumide. Now what are pinnide and thrumide flowers? Pinnide flowers have short stems because of which the anthers are at the bottom, and they have a long style due to which the stigma is positioned at the top. Okay, and moreover, it has been found that pinnide flowers have long stigmatic papillae and small pollen grains. They have long stigmatic papillae and small pollen grains. Stigmatic papillae are the ridges which are found at the surface of stigma. Okay, and they have small pollen grains. I will recommend you to just remember these two features for the sake of convenience. Flowers having short stamen and long style, they are known as pinnide flowers, and the thrumide flowers are those flowers having long stamen and short style, and it has also been found that these flowers have small stigmatic papillae and large pollen grains. You can remember here The thermite flowers are those flowers having long stamen here, long stamen because of which the anthers are at the top, and short style due to which the stigma is at the bottom. Okay. Distyly is observed, it has been found in case of jasmine and primula. Now, this is very much important. Here you can see the pollen grains produced in anthers of the pinnate flower. They can land on its own stigma, and they can also land on the stigma of this flower type, thermite flower. The chances of effective pollination, the chances that the pollen grains will germinate, it is very much high in this case. That means when pollen grains land on the stigma as compared to when it land on its own stigma. And likewise, the pollen grains produced in this anther of this flower, they can land on its own stigma as well as the stigma of this pinnate flower. But the chances of the germination of pollen, it is maximized. It is more in case of, it is more when they drop on the stigma of this pinnate flower. Okay. Now tri-heterostyly. What is tri-heterostyly? Tri-heterostyly means if a plant species has 3 types of flowers. Now, what are these 3 types of flowers? The first one is long style with stamens which are medium and short. This one long style, तो जो stigma है वह ऊपर की ओर आ जाएगा, and it possesses one group of stamens which are medium and another group of stamens which are short. Another one is medium style and long stems and short stems. This type of flower is having a medium style, so the stigma is positioned at the intermediate height, and it also possesses 2 groups of stamens. One is long and another one is short. Simple. The third one is short style with stamens which are medium and long. Short style here, it possesses one group of stamens which are medium and another group of stamens which are long. Now you can yourself see how pollination effectively occurs in this plant species. Effective pollination occurs when the pollen grains of this flower produced in this group of anthers, they land on this stigma, and pollen grains of this group of anthers of this flower, they land on this stigma, and likewise pollen grains of this group of anthers of this flower, they land on this stigma, and pollen grains of this group of anthers of this flower, they land on this stigma. Okay, and here you can see at the top the pollen grains which are produced in the long stamens of this flower, when they land on this stigma, they cause effective pollination, and the pollen grains produced in the long stamens of this flower, when they land on this stigma, they cause effective pollination. Okay, so these roots, they show you the how effective pollination occurs in this plant species. And this tri-heterostyly, it has been found in case of Lythrum and Oxalis. So this is all for today. I hope you all understand this. In the next part, we have to deal with self-incompatibility. Okay, till then, take care.